Good morning, and thank you very much for coming to cover our statement before we embark on another journey, this time to Mayaro, to mobilize the people of Mayaro as to the concerns that the trade union movement in the country has with respect to a number of issues, but in particular, the issue of crime and violence. Crime and violence continue to be a major problem for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Every single life is under threat as we speak. And so as of yesterday, it was 335 persons. That's 335 persons killed, butchered, murdered, simply because we have a clueless, non-functioning government to be able to arrest the problem of crime and criminal activity in the country. Everywhere you go, people complain about feeling unsafe. And we wish to make the point this morning that today, in Trinidad and Tobago, today, the 14th of August 2018, is unlike the 14th of August last year, 2017, because we are more unsafe. We feel more unsafe this year than last year. But let me continue to make the point that this government, Dr. Rowley government, has failed to protect the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. That's a fact. And no amount of ranting and raving and so on. Let me just get to that before I conclude talking about our mission today. What the country witnessed on Sunday was the ranting of a desperate man. Yeah. A desperate man, desperate person. Desperate because he is in a job for which clearly the country recognizes he's not qualified, competent, or have experience. And so that faced with the problems and the challenges of governing, his only response is to try to obfuscate and to change the conversation, but we will not allow that to happen at all. We'll continue to focus on the problems and the issues at hand. And under Dr. Rowley, the undeniable fact is you have more workers going home, more murders in the country every day. You have a stalled economy. You have more problems with the health sector. And of course, you have more arrogance in governance. No one can deny any one of those issues. They are a fact. And so we point to statistics to support our claim. And to try to change the conversation, you know, he's not only desperate, you know, he's deceitful. He's deceitful and ungrateful. And he's lazy. Yeah, let me make the point. He's lazy. And he's lying. He's lying. Yeah. And I make absolutely no apology to say that you have a prime minister that tells lie to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. So when he was walking with the people in Chagaramas, and he vowed over his dead body, they will not take that land. And now the land has gone to the 1%. His 1%, the land has gone to. What a change. When he was with the wrong table, the wrong table, every week meeting, talking about poor governance coming from Mrs. Prasad Bisesa's government and what we should do about it and that we should not allow poor governance for the country. That was Keith Rowley talking. And when he was marching with us, the same OWTU and the same JTUM and the same trade union movement who stood up and took a stand against the injustice and against the bad governance and so on, against the corruption, all of which we still are having today under his government, when we took a stand against that on May the 23rd and 2015, and on the 5th of December in Port of Spain, Keith Rowley was present, ever present. When he asked the country to join with him and march for Section 34. Section 34, remember that? Section 34, don't forget that. Yeah? So he, at that time, he wasn't, well, we have to ask the question, was he being paid $100,000 to do that? Because to us, it seems that once you're marching for him, you have to be paid. Yes. But let me just say, for us here in the joint trade union movement and the progressive labor movement in the country, we don't want 1 cent to point out the ills in the country and to point out a poor performing prime minister. We don't want anything. And in fact, we refuse to accept any money from Keith Rowley and his government. Let me just make that clear again. We refuse to accept any handout of $15 million, and we were right to do that, to accept, to refuse and reject outright any $15 million from them. What Keith Rowley and his government want is for us to remain silent. This trade union movement, we will not be silenced by anybody at all.
Yes.
Yeah? I receive no such pay. In fact, I was talking to my comrades this morning. I say that we have to file a grievance because I am being short paid. I'm receiving much less than $100,000, and the comrades ought to review my job. What the comrades said to me is that, listen, that yes, that is so, because clearly, I mean, by comparison, you're doing a better job than the Prime Minister. So for sure, that will be an undertaking of our union. But let me just say for clarity for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. In terms of the Oilfields Workers Trade Union, I'm a Petrotrin Trinma employee. Petrotrin does not pay the position of the President General. The OWTU pays the President General. The union pays the President General. And that was decided upon that way so that that office will be the most independent office in Trinidad and Tobago, beholden to no one. And my pay is consistent with what I would have earned had I been back at Petrotrin Trinma operation. That is to say, I belong to the monthly paid bargaining unit, and nobody in that bargaining unit earns 100,000 or anything close to that at all. So that's another lie that Keith Rowley tried to perpetrate on the country to change the conversation. So now that we get that out of the way, let me show some similarity. His approach is not unlike SPNA. When we hold SPNA to account for the poor performance in Petrotrin, he talks about the workers' salary, that which the workers are not receiving at all. So the workers are not receiving what SPNA say they are receiving, 45,000. That is a lie too. And of course, the Prime Minister follows suit. So now we see the connection and the collaboration between SPNA and, of course, Dr. Keith Lion Rowley. You are a liar. And let me tell you another lie that he spoke about on Sunday. He said that he requested a meeting with me. That is a blatant, outright lie. And I challenge him to tell me the date and time that he would have spoken to me and requested to meet with me. The country's 3 labor federations, by letter dated October 11, 2017, would have written to the Prime Minister outlining a number of problems and issues, including difficulty and problems and hardship with the question of the budget that was laid in the Parliament last year. And on behalf of the people of the country without a voice, those of whom are on the lowest end of the economic ladder, we wrote to the Prime Minister. To date, we have neither had an acknowledgement nor a response for that letter. That is disrespect. Disrespect to the 3 labor federations, the country's 3 labor federations that represent workers throughout Trinidad and Tobago. And we said, and we maintain, we will not take any level of disrespect from anybody, any government, including Rowley and his government. We're not taking that. Yeah. So we did not allow the colonial government in this country, colonial governance, to get away. We held them to account. In fact, the main reason why we are in a post-colonial era is because of the struggle of the trade union movement in this country.
Yes.
And that we were allowed to be given self-governance with our own constitution as a result of the trade union movement in this country. So we held every single government to account, from Dr. Williams to Chambers, to Robinson, to Patrick Manning, to Pandey, to Kamla, Manning again. So who the hell is Dr. Rowley that we can't hold him to account? He must be brought to account for the poor performance of his government, man.
Yes.
Yeah. And no amount of wajang behavior, will allow us, or would deter us, or would phase us Keith Rowley is a blasted wajang. He's no prime minister. He ought to take a page out of Patrick Manning's book.
Yes.
And Mr. Manning was correct, God rest his soul. He was correct. So we are not phased. We have never backed down from a fight in this country.
Yes.
In fact, we have won all of the fights. The political cemetery is littered with a lot of prime ministers who thought they could have confronted the labor movement in Trinidad and Tobago, and it will be no different this time around. We are some 81 years as a trade union movement in this country, and when the dust is settled, Keith Rowley will be history. Yes, as we continue to go forward ever. Backward never. We're not afraid of you, Keith Rowley. We're not afraid of your wajang behavior. In fact, we dealt with wajang all the time. We know how to deal with wajang. Yeah? We know how to deal with wajang. And that would not prevent us from coming to Port of Spain and bruising our knees and praying to God to save us from the poor governance that you are providing to Trinidad and Tobago. It is without a shadow of a doubt that today we have more murders, that today we have more workers going home, and you want us to accept that? You want us to remain silent? No, 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 that will never happen. This trade union movement, the joint trade union movement, we will not be silenced by anybody. Nobody could silence us because what? We are independent. We are beholden to no one except, of course, to provide leadership for our members and defend workers for whom we have that particular responsibility, and of course, by extension, provide a voice for those without a voice. So he said nothing about all of those persons, 300 plus persons who were butchered for this year alone. We are in August. What is the forecast for the end of the year? He said nothing about a stalled economy, people complaining to us when we go throughout the length and breadth of this country about the problems they are experiencing with respect to the economy being stalled. They're selling, they put the goods out, they cannot sell it. And of course, they are fearful. You look on the streets, all 6 o'clock in some parts of this country, self-imposed curfew. People are afraid in this country. The Prime Minister did not tell the country how he's going to get the guns out of the hands of the criminal. He didn't tell the country how he would get the guns off of the streets. He didn't tell the country how he will lock down the borders. And of course, by virtue of that alone, he has failed. And we are not ashamed or afraid to tell Keith Rowley that he has failed so far in attempting to govern this country. A total failure. And so I want to again point you, members of the media, to a document called Memoranda of Understanding. The Prime Minister has failed to uphold, in fact, he's a puppet. His strings have been pulled by the 1% and a particular community in this country. And of course, all of you who support that nonsense, when the time comes and when everything is over, you would have nothing and the 1% would have everything. Pay close attention to that. He is not a prime minister. You are not in government. You as the ordinary PNM person, you're not in government. Your party is labeled in government, but some other entity is pulling the strings of that prime minister and, of course, your party. So don't fool yourself with a fallacy that you're in government. You're not in government. And so he had committed to, and comrades here are aware of that because they were present, a memoranda of understanding as to how we should operate going forward, condemning what was happening with the current government at the time and vowing to do better, but even more than that, willing to put his signature on a document attesting to the commitment that his party, should it get into office, would honor. And so here's, I just want to pull out a couple of the points that he signed to on that document. And you tell me if he so far has honored that. And so number 4 talks about recognizing that workers' involvement within the country's system of governance is central to the economic planning, and therefore the cycle of confrontation can be brought to an end through genuine consultation. What genuine consultation you have with them right now? Requesting meeting, they are not even acknowledging the request for those meetings. And then you come and lie and say that you wanted to talk with me? If you want to talk with me, you have to have the respect to respond in writing, just as we officially, together with the two other trade unions, would have requested. So you must be talking in your sleep, old man. You're talking in your sleep. You dream that. That may happen at all. Yeah? And you're walking in your sleep. We're going to walk over the cliff just now, don't worry. And here's another one. 7, ensuring that trade unions are involved as early as possible when new systems, new service delivery arrangements are under active consideration. So what could be more in focus than all of these reshaping of government entities, the TDC, the whole question of Petrochin and UTT and so on? What level of engagement we have when the board itself would have signed a memoranda of agreement which is registered with the Minister of Labour, and they're not adhering to it. But that's not all. We continue to make the point that the country's single refineries performance is going down, and pretty soon we will not be able to, if we do not arrest that decline and that poor performance under SPNA, Rowley and Stout Young Friend, if we do not arrest that decline, we will not be able to have the products produced in a timely manner coming out of the refinery. But he don't care about that. He don't care about that. So he says that he don't care about losing an election. Well, if it's one thing I pick out of everything he said and believe, is that because of how he is operating, and his supporters must understand that he will take all Orleans right down to the ground with him. And therefore, the whole issue of agreements they made, they are not honoring any of those agreements. And then you come to tell the country a lie that you requested to meet with me. Dr. Rowley must tell the country the date, the time, the place, and so on, that he made that request, and show the country the letter, the official letter that he requested to meet with the trade union movement. And it's not just me, it is the 3 Labour that wrote you. Yes. So it's not just me. But I want to bring absolute clarity to that. Dr. Rowley told a colossal lie. Not afraid or ashamed to say that. A number of persons in this country are remaining silent, remaining real silent, while all of this maladministration and malgovernance and so on continues. In the joint trade union movement, they can find absolutely no such comfort. We'll continue to raise all of these issues. We will continue to point out the fact that they fail with respect to crime. We will continue to point out the fact that they fail with respect to the economy and, of course, labor. That which they had made a commitment to in writing, they have disrespected labor. And let me say again, finally, as I close, we are not afraid of a fight at all, at all. Not afraid of a fight. Yeah. We didn't ask for it. We didn't ask for it, but we're not going to back away from it. Yeah? We didn't come looking for trouble, but we are not afraid of trouble. We will deal with it as we see fit. We dealt with all of the previous prime ministers, so who the hell is Wajang Dr. Rowley? I also want to remind everybody that the Petrochin workers are taking active note of what has been said. That a failed chairman has been instructed by a failed prime minister to employ consultants, which consultants they employed not using any process at all, because we questioned the process that they would have used to engage those consultants and to pay them huge money. Yeah, millions of dollars. Yeah, pay attention to that. Millions of dollars to those consultants. But that those consultants are recommending the sending home of workers. And he supports SPNA, who employ the consultants to send home Petrochin workers. And the Petrochin workers are taking good note of that. And as a result of that, we are not afraid. We will be in Port of Spain, Puerto de España, on the 26th of August. That's later this month. And we will be at the Prime Minister's official residence. Some nonsense talk about he don't live there. So he's just like Kamala. When he condemned Kamala for having an official office and staying in Philippines, he's telling the country now that he don't live there. he lives in Goodwood Park and Tobago. Well, we will provide the appropriate sending off of you back to wherever you want to stay, and you'll find comfort there, and we'll get a Prime Minister who can do the work for this country. You failed, Keith Rowley, and we are not afraid to say that. And let me just say, I am not phased any way at all. Yeah? We are prepared to take on anybody as we have taken on everybody in the past. And that is why on September the 7th, we are going to rest and reflect. Rest and reflect on the MOU. Rest and reflect on the type of engagement that we have not had, that which they committed to. Rest and reflect on the poor governance. Rest and reflect on our position in the NTAC, that if we should stay or not stay. Because if you send one UTT worker home or one Petrotrin worker home, that is it for us and NTAC. We will exit that as fast as your head will spin. And then we will be in the streets. We will deal with all the matters in the streets. So we are the turners of the country's wheel, economic wheel. Workers turn the economy every day. And we represent workers. We represent the input that allow for progress, if there's any, in this country. And so those constituents whom we represent must not be disrespected. The element of labor must be respected at all times. If you're smart as a prime minister or any government, you first will understand that you have to respect the labor movement in Trinidad and Tobago, every single facet of it.
Yeah, man.
All right?
Yeah, man.
And yes, we know how to, we will reserve that for the 26th. There's a lot more to be said, but we will reserve that. You'll get it in installments, yes, and as we comment on a stalled government. Thank you very much. Yes? Any questions?
Any questions?
Yeah, just one thing, Mr. Roget. He said that he wanted to tell Petrotrin workers that they will not be thrown on the pavement, you know, that their jobs will be taken into consideration, but he has admitted that Petrotrin has to be restructured. But in that workers won't be...
That's a very convoluted and confusing kind of statement. Yes. He didn't say that people would retain their jobs. He did not say that. He said that they employ consultants, professionals, which would advise them on how Petrotrin should be going forward. And that consultant, those professionals, so-called professionals and advisors already produce a report, which the chairman is holding to. His chairman, his non-performing chairman, is holding to, that says that over 2,000 workers will be going home. So he's trying to forestall the Petrotrin workers from coming to Port of Spain by talking that nonsense. But the Petrotrin workers are smart workers, yeah, and they know how their bread is buttered, yeah? No government gave the Petrotrin workers or any workers their jobs. No government defends workers. It is the labor movement in Trinidad and Tobago that stands up in defense of workers in this country. And we will continue to do that fearlessly and without apology, and of course, without fear of intimidation. You can't frighten us. We will not be intimidated by any jamet or any jamet behavior.
Say nothing there, Ivan?
Yeah? All right. So let me just say the other comments. Yeah, because we get the impression that it's just the OWT alone, but they have other leaders who are very incensed about the crime and the entire situation. So, yeah, and the nonsense that he spoke.
Yeah, well, the farmers will support my leader, Ancel Roget, as saying Dr. Lion Keith Rowley. We, together with the media, Port of Spain media, would have known since November the 2nd, we dropped a letter to Dr. Rowley concerning the lands at St. Augustine Nurseries, Carson Field, Sogrim Trace. And now we're hearing that he wants to give his financiers 1,176 acres of land in a repo. 2 years ago, we confronted the Minister of Agriculture on their repo lands. And he said that the land was not going to be given out. It is documented in newspaper reports, especially on The Guardian. And today they're saying that they change the talk now to expressions of interest. But the people in the Ministry of Agriculture know that those lands are going to two big financiers, right? Before he come to put it into the public. And we are saying, Dr. Rowley, you're lying beyond JTAM and ourselves, the Farmers Union. We delivered a letter to you on the 2nd of November, and you're so nasty, you ain't respond to it or acknowledge it. That is the way, because we call Kamla nasty and dirty, so we calling you nasty and dirty too. You can't treat ordinary people like that. We feeding the nation for years. For years we feeding the damn nation, and you don't treat us with no respect. So we are saying, hands off at the land, because the land in this country seems to be the richest thing for you and your financiers. You condemn Kamla in Parliament and in meetings on the wrong table about giving away the land of this country, and you doing the same damn thing. Down with you, Dr. Rowley. Fire for you, according to our big president. Fire! Yeah. The president by the Prime Minister residence on September the 7th, we supported wholly and solely.
Members of the media, good morning, comrades. I'm Trevor Johnson, General Secretary of the Banking, Insurance and General Workers Union, and I want to make it clear that this union, Banking, Insurance and General Workers Union, is a constituent member of the Joint Trade Union movement, and we will support this mobilization towards this day of rest and reflect on September 7th, because we have a number of concerns, many concerns with all of the stalled negotiations, for example, in the public sector and the public domain right now. This government is not engaging in any form of constructive or any form of negotiations whatsoever. And all we are hearing the Prime Minister says that workers should follow him because he's ensuring that they get their salaries at the end of the month. But it's not just about getting their salaries, it's about getting 2018 salaries, because we are in 2018. So if the Prime Minister is providing people with 2007 or 2010 salaries and is happy about that, we are not happy about that. Just earlier this week, we heard the government in negotiations with the new Commissioner of Police, and I'm certain whatever figure he called that figure because it's a 2018 figure. And if the government could negotiate with the Commissioner of Police to ensure that he has a current salary, then we want the government to negotiate with every union in Trinidad and Tobago to ensure that the workers of the state enterprises and all the workers in this country are living on 2018 salaries. Because, colleagues, when we go to the grocery every month, the prices keep going up and up and up, and therefore the 1%, they are ensuring that their revenue and their profits are 2018 profits and 2018 revenue and 2018 income. And we cannot have workers, therefore, subsidizing, because there's a large gap between a 2010 salary and a 2018 price that we are paying in the supermarket, and we cannot continue that. So this union will continue to lend its support and be part of every mobilization campaign. We are also concerned about the issue of crime, because we need to understand that most of these 300 plus people who have been killed were workers, the heads of households. You know, we sometimes the drama and the reporting about crime takes us away from the fact that people are affected, a household. When one person gets killed, it's an entire household, an entire community that is affected. It's not just the stats of 300 plus. It is multiplied that by 4, 5, or 6, the terms of the impact that has. Workers are being killed in this country. Citizens are being killed in this country. No one feels safe, and it is time that we do what is necessary to bring to the government's attention that enough is enough. Enough is enough. And today and continuing until September 7th and beyond, we will continue to raise these issues in the public domain. Thank you, comrades. Thank you, colleagues.
Pleasant good morning to everyone. My name is Clyde Eld. I am the Secretary General of the Communication Workers Union. You know, there's an old colonial tactic that this government intends on using, and that is to divide and rule. And they will have you feel that the only union and the only union leader who is making a problem, who has issues, is the OWTO and Ancel Roget. And I want to let the Prime Minister and this government know that if you feel that these issues are only about Roget and about the OWTU, you have another thing coming. You see, every single union in this country today is affected by something. Something that this government is perpetrating. In the PSA, we have issues. In Begu, they have issues. In OWTU, they have issues. In farmers, they have issues. In Tutor, they have issues. And of course, in CW, we have issues. And speaking about CW issues, TSTT declared a profit of $8 million. $8 million profit they declared at the end of the financial year 2017 to 2018. $8 million. But what they didn't tell you is that the managers alone got $10 million bonus in December. So managers got $10 million bonus in December, and the company declares $8 million profit in April. Okay? And what they're also not telling you is that the profit they declared is really a loss. Because they went and buy a failed entity that is Massy Communication, call it Amplia, and now they're making losses by the millions. And on top of that, Massy today declared a profit of $300-something million because they got Amplia. It was Amplia? No, it was Massy Communication before. So TSTT, being organized and run and mandated from the top by this government, is saying to workers, we have no money. The government is saying to workers, we have no money. So how come it has no money for me and for you and for the workers below, but it has money to pay them millions in profit, and it has money to give all of them ministers all what they want? How come it has money for that? It has money for the workers. How come? And it's because there's a concerted effort to make sure the rich gets richer and the poor remains poor, get poorer. And for that we will not stand. For that we will not stand. And we are calling on the government to settle all outstanding negotiations. So you're saying we get $100,000, Rose get $100,000? Well, yeah, man. We want your words to come true. Let your words come true. And give the workers the money that you say they deserve. Because by your utterances, it means that we deserve that. And we deserve it. Because we're working harder than all of you to make the economy churn and turn and to ensure that we stay afloat. So Imbert is saying the economy improving. Things looking up. For whom? Things looking up, but yet we can't feel it in our wallets when we go to the grocery. We can't see it when we go to the hospital. We can't feel it when we're on the roads traveling because every minute is a pothole. Things looking up for whom? Is it only for the 1% and for the government elites? Maybe it is for them, but certainly not for the workers, not for the working class. And as the comrade said, Kid Rowley, you have failed. You have lost touch with the ground and with the people. The same people who put you in power, you are now turning your backs on those persons who put you in power. Even the stalwarts and the die-hard PNM supporters are up in arms. They're complaining. The very PNM supporters complain about their Prime Minister. That should tell you something. And you're so afraid of challenge that you put off election in your own party. It ain't going to help you, you know. It ain't going to help you. Because at the end of the day, workers are saying enough is enough. Enough working on 2013, 2003, 2010 salaries in 2018. Enough of that. Enough of these bad corporate governance taking place in all of the state entities. Enough of that. Enough of promises that has not materialized. Enough of that. Enough of problems on the air and the sea bridge between Trinidad and Tobago. Enough of that. Enough of all of these murders that are happening in this country on a daily basis, like if it's a medication prescription. Enough of that. Enough of this PNM government disrespecting the working class and the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. Enough of that. And today, the Communications Workers Union is saying that we fully support September 7th. We call on our members to send that message to not just your companies, but to this government that enough is enough. Let the Prime Minister know what time it is and where to get off. And on September 7th, send that strong message that we have had enough and it's time we take back this blasted country. Thank you very much.
All right, so thank you very much for covering this very important statement as we embark on another leg of our journey to do the active mobilization, alerting the people of this country to the problems that we have and really pointing to why it is happening. Because the reason why we have so much murders is because those who took the job to protect and secure the country, they have fallen down on that job. Yeah? Simply put. And of course the country's borders is not locked down. So we are going to Mayaro right now as another piece of our mobilization effort. And on Friday we will be in Point 14 and we'll continue to move around the country until September the 7th. And of course, without any $100,000. We're doing that for free because we are committed to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.